think I'm going to do a series on this. And I'm actually going to call it societal bullying in a way. So yesterday, I was scrolling on YouTube and I came across this story where this lady found a cat and she was rescuing it. And it had an eye infection, so she took it to the vet. She looked for it, see if it was chipped. It wasn't. And then she awaited them to approve of her to take the cat home to be adopted. And I was like, what? Like, you're waiting on somebody else to tell you that you're suitable to raise an animal that you already saved. Where did we lose our sovereignty to make decisions for ourselves? Where did we stop and lose our intentions to just make good decisions? Because that's who we are. We are allowing, and it is system-wide, it is society-wide, we have allowed other people to create the criteria for how we live. And it's in every system. Someone told me recently that they went to adopt a dog, and there was 2 dogs that seemed to be well bonded. And so they said, we would really like to have 2 dogs, so let's just adopt both of them. And they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. You have to wait 4 to 6 months and come back. Well, in 4 to 6 months, that other dog will probably be gone. And if I'm suitable for one dog, why am I not suitable for another? And here in the South, we actually ship animals north because supposedly we are so overflowing, and the people in the north have neutered and spayed their animals out of existence of reproduction, which is a whole different story. But why do I have to wait 4 to 6 months to get another animal because they think it's appropriate? It has nothing to do with the fact that that's what I desire and those 2 dogs are bonded. Like, where did we lose our sovereignty? And where did we allow these entities to bully us, to telling us that we can or cannot do something, or can or cannot have something, when our intentions are pure behind it? And we don't have any say in the matter. All right, stay tuned for part 2. Okay, so this is part 2 of the series of societal bullying. And of course, this is my opinion, and this is my awakened thoughts, because once you see stuff, you can't unsee it. But let's talk about college. For you to get into a good college, right, you have to have good grades. You have to have been in sports. You have to do volunteer work in your community and all these things, right, to prove that you are good enough to get into college. Their criteria. But once you get into college, they don't cultivate leadership. They don't cultivate sports unless you got into college for sports. They don't cultivate social activities besides like sororities and fraternities. They kind of like say, oh, you've jumped through all our hoops, so you must be a good student and you must be a good follower, even though they want you to prove leadership skills. And give us your money and go get a piece of paper. And I have a master's degree, so I've jumped through all the hoops. But I think back and I'm like, the people who built the pyramids, the Sistine Chapel, Sacré-Cœur, the temples in Bali, they don't have a 4-year, 6-year degree. And honestly, those things are built to last, and so much better than the structures we build today that are built just to be rebuilt in a few years. Because what does that mean? That means more money. if you build something that's going to last hundreds of years and be really solid and stable, you don't have to rebuild it in a few years and repair it and keep it going on and on and on like that. So our society is all about regurgitating and continuing the flow of money instead of building these beautiful, amazing structures that were built with intention and built with love and around the community and built to last. And our college systems do not perpetuate that. They send you off with a little piece of paper that's supposed to prove that you're a good employee and that you can do X, Y, and Z and jump through all the hoops. And I'm not knocking college. It's a choice. But you've jumped through all the hoops from high school into college, and then they just kind of let you do your thing in college. So what's the point when you can build the Sistine Chapel by figuring it out? So what should we be teaching our kids in elementary school, in high school? We should teach them to be free thinkers. We should teach them to be able to figure it out. We should teach them that it is important to have a foundation, a solid, beautiful foundation that's going to last, instead of this nonsense that just gets regurgitated. Jumping their hoops is bullying because you're meeting somebody else's criteria to be approved for society so you can make money, so you can survive. When you start thinking about these things and going down these little rabbit holes in your mind, it is absolutely mind-boggling how we got here. How did we get here? Societal bullying. Stay tuned for Chapter 3. Part 3 of societal bullying. Let's talk about the banking credit industry. So you want to buy a house. You have to be pre-vetted before you can even look. Nowadays. Now, back in Gen Xers, when me and my husband were buying our first house, it wasn't like this. But today, as my sons and daughter is looking to buy a house, you have to be pre-vetted. You have to have great credit. You have to have $100,000 down and all these criteria to meet before they'll even take you to look at a house. But they'll approve you to rent an apartment for $1,500 a month for one bedroom or more, depending on where you live. But they won't approve you for a mortgage where your payments would be $800 a month. What? Credit cards? All that does is just eat away at your money, because if you don't pay it off every month, you're paying 20% interest or more. Who knows? Depends on your credit, right? And you can't build your credit unless you have a credit card. And you can't buy a house unless you have credit built. And then you have to have a bank account, right? But if you don't have a certain amount in your bank account, they charge you $45 a month to have that bank account. I have a very small business, and I'm closing my business bank account because it's $45 a month to keep that account open. If you own a small business and you don't make a lot of money, it's not worth it. And it's sad, and it's by design. All of this is by design, but it's bullying. It's to keep you down and to keep you jumping through their hoops, so you're so busy trying to meet their expectations and their criteria that you can't live a life of fulfillment and joy and love, because you're always waiting to pay somebody, and you're always waiting to jump through the next criteria to be approved by whoever made the rules. We don't even know who makes the rules anymore. I mean, I can't take a check made out to my husband anymore that he signed and I signed on the back and get that cashed. They have to deposit it in our account if I take it. But then they'll take the money right out. Like, it's not, nothing makes sense. Where have we let go of that control over our own money and our own desires to earn and to earn the things that we love and want and need, because you need a home, and allow somebody else to give us all the hoops to jump through to get that. And the truth is, nothing is ever paid off, because on top of that, you pay taxes when you buy a car, and you pay taxes every year to keep that car and drive that car. You pay taxes on the gas that you buy to put in it. It's crazy. Does it make you feel like you're in bondage when you really think about all this? All right, stay tuned for the next one. Societal bullying, part 4. Let's talk about family. When we are born into a family, there's so many ways that we are affected by our family. Your birth order, your parents' history, trauma, socioeconomic status, where you go to school, etc. But the most impactful part is the love in your family and the desire to allow each child and each sibling to be who they are, regardless. And we go through these ebbs and flows of who we are as we find ourselves, even if it's when you're 50, right? Because we go through experiences that are meant for us to grow. Some people, some members of our family, and this is probably across the board, they think that you should do what they need you to do. They think you should be who they want you to be. They think you should always be on the same page as them. And that's just not how we are born to be. So on top of all the societal bullying that we experience, the one place that should be safe in our world is our family. And so often that's where we get bullied the most, because people think that our family thinks that we should do whatever it is that they think we should do. But we're not meant to be that way. We're meant to be our own individual people and allow all these things that we experience, be it birth order or your star sign or whatever, to mold us and allow these challenges to push us into our soul's purpose. And so often we get stunted in our growth and stunted in our desires and our dreams by the people in our family who want to bully us because they think we should be somebody else. And how often do kids go to college or do things, into the family business, etc., because their parents think they should do that? And that is parental bullying, instead of loving and allowing and nurturing the being that is inside of each individual child to be who they are. And we won't even go into sibling bullying. I could probably write a book on that one. But allow the people in your family to be who they are. Allow them to grow as they are meant to grow. And this bullying has got to stop, because we're surrounded. And we really have to be strong in who we are in order to overcome bullying, especially the trauma that comes with being a part of a family where there's a bully. All right, stay tuned for part 5, which is going to be religion. Are you still with me? Part 5 is about religion. I say I'm not religious. I'm more spiritual. I find that my spirituality brings me closer to God, that walking out there barefoot on the grass and being in the woods or by a waterfall is way more potent to my soul, my spirituality, than going into a building and sitting and listening to someone else's interpretation of the Bible. On top of that, witnessing how people who, and I'm not saying everybody, a good many people who go to church every time the doors open, treat other people once they leave those doors. I have no love lost for the religious realm in our world. You do you, you be you, whatever. But the more I learn, the more I study about religion and spirituality and the Bible, the more I question everything about my years I spent in church. And it's sad because I used to love to go to church. But when you preach fire and brimstone instead of a loving God, I feel like that separates us from God, because we, again, are supposed to be jumping through hoops and meeting His criteria instead of folding into Him and growing closer to Him. So I feel like church, generally speaking, bullies us into behaving. And I'm not beating up on anybody's religion, because you do you. Whatever works for you. I have no problem with that. For me, I see confession as a way that the church created this place where you're going to behave because you most certainly do not want to tell the priest about what you've done. And that keeps you in control. And you're not going to do X, Y, Z because that will send you to hell. It's to keep us all in line, right? And you can't preach fear and expect people to go out and love each other. And Jesus and God, in my Southern Baptist Christian belief, wants us to go out and love each other. But love and fear can't exist in the same realm. Gratitude and anxiety can't exist in the same realm. And if what you're preaching is about fear and anxiety and worrying about every little sin that you commit, because we're all going to sin. Every day we sin. You trip and you bump your toe and you're going to say a bad word. I mean, we all sin. But instead of cowering below our Lord and Savior, we should be striving to be closer to Him. Instead of fearing hell, we should be striving and living in love and gratitude for not only each other, but what is meant to be on the other side of this life. Instead of fearing that we only have this one life to live, open the realm of possibilities that there's other ways of being. Energy never dies. It just changes form. So in my opinion, religion is one of the biggest bullies in our society because they preach fear. And we're not meant to live in fear. We're meant to live in love. So think about that one. And maybe instead of not going to church anymore, if this really lands with you, maybe go to church and see if you can change it somehow. Just a thought. Meanwhile, I'll probably be in the woods. I'll probably be in meditation. And I will probably be in gratitude and thanking God for all he's given us in this earth. Just a thought about how religion is built on bullying and fear. All right, stay tuned for part 6. Okay, if you don't know this one, part 6 about societal bullying, then you definitely are living under a rock. Politics. Politics is it's all about fear. It's all about bullying. They bully each other, they bully Congress, they bully constituents, they bully news outlets, and we buy into it. Hook, line, and sinker. Jumping on our little bandwagons, jumping on our outrage, jumping on our anger, and it's all fear-based. Because when you live in fear, again, fear and love cannot live in the same realm. Gratitude and anxiety cannot live in the same realm. And fear and anxiety are very low vibrational energies, along with shame, because there's so much shame. I mean, what do you think they call everybody? A racist or a Nazi or a whatever. It's shame-based. It's fear-based. It's anxiety-based. It keeps you in low vibrational living because it allows them control. It allows them power. It allows them financial gain and so much more. And across the world, we allow our politicians to get inside of our hearts and allow us to forget the humanity that is actually what politics is supposed to be about: taking care of each other, having a leader, having someone who cares about you. And that's why you elect them, right? Because you think, oh, well, they're really going to do the work, and they really care about me and my life. But the truth is, most of the time, they don't. Why do you think some of these politicians make $174,000 a year from our taxpayer dollars, but somehow they end up millionaires and billionaires when they leave? They do not care about us. They want to keep us all in control. They want to keep us all in fear. Politicians, 99.9% of politicians are bullies. Think about that. And we allow them to divide us. We allow them to make us angry at each other. We allow them to keep us upset constantly. And then we're bombarded by social media along with that. So if you don't know that politicians are bullies and societal bullying comes directly from politicians in the first place, like I said, you have definitely been living under a rock. It's up to us to change this stuff. It is up to us to stop allowing the bullying to divide us, because you remember back hundreds of years ago when they said, united we stand, divided we fall? That wasn't just a cool saying, it's the truth. And we live in so much fear and division and anger and anxiety and shame that we can't see the potential of being unified and living from a place of love and health and joy and contentment. So are you going to continue to allow politicians and the media they have in their pockets to keep bullying you? All right, I'm sure there's a part 7 hang on for that one. Okay, are you still there? Part 7. Let's just talk about bullying in general. You know, I used to think that if someone bullied you, that they were jealous of you in some way. And that is still a thing, of course. That is one reason that people bully. But the more I've learned, the more I've read, the more I've studied, I have a social work background. I'm a yoga teacher, and I really dove in to a lot of healing modalities on my healing journey. And the more I learn, the more I understand that people who are bullied are most likely either going through a trauma or have been through a trauma, and this is the way that they have decided to keep themselves safe. Now, there is a variety of reasons that people are bullied. There's narcissism, there's attachment styles, if you want to dive into that, you definitely can dive into that. I often wonder if someone who's bullying you, if you just gave them a hug, which is one of the hardest things that you could ever do when you feel bullied, what that would do for them. You know, there's mean girls and that's mean boys too, and it starts in elementary school. It probably starts at home. And of course, there's a million reasons and a million ways that people are abused and literally molded into these people. And part of it may be genetics, right? It could be birth order. It could be what someone's trying to hide. I don't have an answer, but there is definitely a big conversation around bullying and how we can prevent bullying, and especially for those that are bullied too. But the truth is that both parties hurt really bad. And when, I recently, it's been a few years, went to my 30th high school reunion. I planned it. And there's a girl there who bullied me about my weight. Are we still mean girls 30 years later? And where's your gratitude that I planned that so you could come to that party? Some bullies never outgrow being a bully. They never get the attention they need. They never get the counseling they need, or they never ever receive the love they need. I don't know. I don't know why someone wants to continue being a bully 30 years after high school. But if you are a bully or you are being bullied, get some help. It's not a fun place to be regardless, and too many kids lose their lives. Social media plays such a major part of this. Don't bully. It's not worth it. Go do something that makes you better as a person, so you don't have to put your insecurities or your trauma on someone else. Hurt people. And that is the God's honest truth. Everything I've read says if we do not heal ourselves from our trauma, that we will continue to perpetuate it on everyone who comes into our lives. So if you are a bully, a narcissist, an abusive husband, an abusive boyfriend, abusive wife, an abusive mother, an abusive friend, a bully, get some help. Because you do not want to harm somebody else to where they have to be that person, or they have to feel like they're checking out of this world to be rid of you and be rid of the trauma that you're putting on someone else. And here's where I say, go love yourself, because loving yourself is where you start to heal that bullying mentality. All right, there might be a part 8 if you're still with me here. Go love yourself. Okay, part 8 on bullying, and this will be my final one because I'm going to invite you to a conversation about bullying. The Be the Spark movement has a conversation every month on the third Saturday at noon Eastern Standard Time about a topic that is very potent in our society, a topic that a lot of people don't talk about or don't think about. And so this month is bullying. So it is Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at noon Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to join this conversation because you have something to say about bullying, please go to BeTheSparkMovement.com and sign up for your Zoom link. And we just have a conversation. We do put it live on Facebook, and I do record it, and we put it on YouTube. So there's a Be the Spark movement on YouTube if you want to check that out. But I think this topic is so prevalent. This topic is so impactful. And I don't think oftentimes people even know they're being bullied until they're able to step back and really think about it. So I invite you to come and share your story of bullying or your thoughts on bullying. Now, we don't get into politics, and we're not fighting over right left. So if you want to come on there and fight over right left, I will not allow you to come in, or I will ask you to leave, because that's not what this is about. This is about finding a common ground where our humanity needs each other. It's about connection. It's about having a peaceful and kind conversation, a deep conversation, to where instead of fighting about things, we get to love each other and help each other through certain aspects of this life. We've had topics on fear and joy and, oh my gosh, I can't even remember them all right now because I've been talking about bullying so much. But the truth is, bullying is, it's such a terrible thing that goes on in our world. I mean, just flip through social media, turn on the news, any of it. And honestly, it's all about bullying. At the foundation, it's all about fear. And we are not meant to live in fear. We're meant to live in love and connection and joy and peace. So if you want to be a part of this conversation, BeTheSparkMovement.com. We would love to have you be a part of this conversation. And let's do a little healing. And that's Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at noon Eastern Standard Time. There is always a recording, so if you can't join and you want to shoot me a DM here, I would love that, and I would love to share your thoughts on the video. If you cannot, this is funny because my cats are bullying each other right now. But yeah, we would love to know your thoughts about bullying and solutions to bullying. My personal solution, which is unfathomable, is that everybody gets counseling. That would be a really great start, because we all go through trauma and we all go through things that really tear us up and things that make us perpetuate our anger, our fear, our trauma on other people. And we don't have to live that way. So it is up to us as individuals to start making that change in this world and stop bullying each other over everything. All right. Until then, I hope to see you on Saturday, January 17th at noon Eastern Standard Time. Go to BeTheSparkMovement.com and sign up and get your Zoom link. And again, until then, go love yourself. And that's a great place to start in finding the love inside so you can perpetuate that outside of us and unite this world, not just this country, but this world. We need it. We need you. We need your heart. We need your love. All right. Go love yourself.